Welcome, everybody. My name is Stefan Fredichowski, and I welcome you to the next webinar within our series Developing Superb Trading Strategy. And it's a pleasure to have you once again here within that webinar. As you know, we have ongoing topics. Today, main topic is once again class trading. But before I come to that, just one important announcement that the next webinar will not be in exactly 1 week on Thursday. No, it will be just in 2 weeks. So the next one will be 22nd of September. And by the way, today is the 8th September 2016, 11 o'clock, as usual for this kind of webinar. Okay, saying that, let's go quickly through the topics for today. First one is question and answers from last week. There has been one question I would like to share with you because it was related to an MT4 issue or how to install something there. I will show it just practically here on my screen so that everybody can follow, and it's quite easy to install, for example, an indicator, because that has been the question. Another topic for today is the continuation of class trading strategies. We have then done some work already last week, but now we can dig into the topic a little bit more and a little bit deeper, and to see how it develops if we apply rules like class trading. Okay, let's start. By the way, the reason for having no seminar, no webinar next week is simply that we have the so-called IB days, investment business days, in Germany, and yeah, I'm simply on at that place, so in Frankfurt, to have webinars online directly there for people who are present there, or remote via internet. So it's simply IB days. If you want to join, if you want to have a look on that, it's quite simple to find in the internet, and you will find my own webinars as well. Of course, I have to mention Argus FX here once again, because they make it possible to have those webinars. It's a pleasure for me to work with Argus. Yeah, and now let's go into the details of the questions. And the question was simply how to install an MT4 indicator, which I have, somebody has downloaded from the web. Because, you know, if you want to find something in the internet about indicators, expert advisors, scripts, and so on, you will find hundreds or even thousands of those. But how to get them into your personal MT4 is maybe not as straightforward, but I will show how this runs. In order to have it more common for everybody, I will do it on a Windows computer, not on a Mac, which I have here, but I go simply remote to a Windows computer, and there I can show what to do. So the steps necessary to be done is quite simple. The best is always that you have opened your own MT4 on your computer, and maybe you have, I will simply here open a new chart in order to have that indicator here on finally within that chart. But before, yeah, I have downloaded an indicator from the web, and right now this file is in the download folder of my computer. But how to get it into the MT4? And it's quite easy to go there. What you do is you press File within your MT4, then you press Open Data Folder on your MT4, and the good thing is now you are already directly where to put such kind of indicator. So you see there's a very long list within the folder line here, and it's normally quite complicated to find it. But if you open an Explorer directly from MT4, then you are already exactly at the place where all the things have to go. And you see, for example, here folders like MQL4, and that will finally be the destination for that indicator. So I said that my indicator is here in the download folder, so I press the download folder here, and now I want to use a filter, for example, an MT4 indicator, which is called Laguerre filter. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Whatever that filter is doing, that's not the topic for today, but it is downloaded from the web, and there you find two kind of possibilities. One is that you have a file extension named MT4, or it might be already some executable. It doesn't matter what you have. The step for installing is simply the same. So what we do here is we copy that file now, and where to put it. We go back one step back, then we are back what has been originally our destination by opening the Explorer directly out of the MT4. And then the next step is that we go here in the folder MQL4, and then you see you have folders like experts, indicators, scripts, and that are the destinations for those things you might download from the web. And now I double click the indicators, and here I insert my file. So now we have here this Laguerre filter within the indicator file list, and that's already all. But still you will see, oh, there's no indicator called Laguerre here within the navigator list. And now that you have two possibilities. One is you close your MT4 and restart it, then you will find it, or you can shortcut the restart of the MT4 simply by doing a right mouse click on indicators, and then you find a button which is called refresh, and that simply tells the software to reload all the indicators you have in your indicator folder. And now we will find this indicator Laguerre filter within the list, and we can take it and, for example, throw it here on the chart, and maybe there are some things, some numbers. For example, think about EMAs, and you have a number like 200 for the EMA period, or you have colors for indication of that indicator to be used. And let's take this one, and in order to see it a little bit better, I take a more thick line here, and then I press OK, and now this indicator is already within my chart. So whatever you download in the internet, the procedure then is always the same, like copy that file, for example, from your download folder into the folders of MT4, and you can have access to those folders simply by file, open data folder, and that's the way that you have directly found the destination for those kind of files. So that's all to be done. By the way, the kind of indicator I have used here, something similar will be topics for next upcoming webinars, which will be more related in general to filters. And with filters, I mean it exactly in the double sense. That means I will then go into filters more from an engineering perspective, more like filters you use for signals. So, or in signal processing, because the similarity between signal processing, for example, for audio or video, is quite the same math behind, and it's quite similar to use those kind of techniques like low pass filters, band pass filters. Some are similar to EMAs, for example. Some are similar to indicators like RSI, so more to speak oscillators, but we will look to that in a more general perspective and see how can we get those kind of filters and yeah, what are the opportunities and even advantages, for example, compared to EMAs or SMAs and so on. But that was right now only the way how to install indicators. Same applies for experts, expert advisors, or any scripts, which you might find in the internet as well. And procedure is always the same, only the destination folder. Yeah, you know already. If it's an expert advisor, then the destination folder will be experts, of course. And if it's a script, then the destination folder for that file is simply scripts. So it's quite easy to find the right destination for those. Okay, that's one question from last week. And general remark about questions: whenever you have a question, simply send me an email. And we can get in touch together, and I will find hopefully the right answers for you. So whenever you need something, just not give me a call, but give me an email, so to say. Okay, let's go back to what we have done within our class trading. And during our talk, I will first do something else because I need it in a minute. Let me start my MT4 here on the computer as well, because I will need it in a minute. About class trading, we have done already some first steps. I will recap a little bit what we have done, because then it's much more intuitive what will come next and what are the next steps to be done in order to have a real clue on what is meant by class trading. The general statement or the general belief behind is simply that I make a statement like markets have different phases, and of course then the next consequence is that different phases might, there's a question mark still, need different trading setups. And that is something you already might observe by your own trading when you look to charts, when you do analysis on those charts, that you have the impression about these different phases, whatever that really means, because it has to be defined, of course. And as usual, if I do trading, we have to do it mathematically. And the first challenge is to identify those different phases and then find the appropriate setup. The underlying idea was born more or less simply by looking, for example, to this kind of chart, which is in this case DAX for several years on a D1 base. And there are only two indicators right now here within the chart. One is a simple EMA, so an exponential moving average in this case. I think the period is 200. And the other indicator within the chart is an ATR with some period. Oh, this is period 50. Later we will use period 120. But anyhow, up to now it's only the concept. And when you look to those two indicators, you clearly can identify different, let's call it already phases, like the EMA goes upwards or EMA goes downwards, or even EMA slope is more or less zero. And this is already something which I call now different classes or different phases. So naming is not really important, but something out of the slope of the EMA can indicate us something like different phases. Same is true for the ATR, because we know, well, we observe values with high ATRs. For example, here in that range, where I move my cursor right now, with extremely high values, and a couple of months ago we have had high values of ATR as well within the DAX, and there are phases with low values for the ATR, and there's something in between that I right now only take let's call it 3 values or 3 different classes per indicator, is only the first guess. In principle, we can separate more different regions, maybe 5 or even 10 and so on, but more different ranges we take, the more finally different classes we will have, because always this multiplies. Up to now we have 3 ranges, 3 classes for the ATR, and we will have 3 classes ranges for the EMA, and that multiplies finally to 9 different classes. And if I would add additional indicators, or if I would higher the number, increase the number for the number of ranges within one indicator, always this will multiply finally. So if you think about 10 indicators with 10 different ranges, then you will have quite a lot of different final classes, and then the concept is not anymore applicable, or doesn't have any sense, because we need finally statistics within one class, and therefore we cannot have too many of those. So that was the principal idea out of the chart, and we have already created a first Excel sheet just showing us those kind of results. Let me summarize that as well. So this started with the prices for DAX for the last 25 years, and we have calculated the ATR, in this case ATR 120, and we have an EMA value, and we calculated the different slopes for the EMA, and then what we have done is we looked to the numbers we get, so all the different numbers we have for the ATR values, for example. We took all those values and we copied them into an additional sheet, and then sorted all those values in the order their number, then we get something similar to a histogram or a distribution list, and then we simply, that was just yeah, from my mind and nothing else. There's nothing really specific behind that. I said, okay, let's separate, let's find limits for in this case the ATR that we have in our 3 classes. In every class we have the same amount, the same number of members in that class, and that was the way how we derive the number for the limits. We have done the same for the EMA, and that finally end up here with our class numbers, and simply by multiplying in a certain way, then we have a unique class identification number for all points here, for all data sets within the 25 years of DAX. We look to that in a chart, and more or less we might identify already there something which might be profitable, at least some ideas. But now the next task is simply, can we find already some rules for those classes? And the first step we can do always in this case is we can look what changes within the DAX do we have from one day to the other day for a certain class. And let's think that from chart perspective back. We identified here something, hey, it might be a good idea if the EMA is the slope of the EMA is, let's say, high, whatever that means, and the ATR is low, then this might be a good idea for a long trade within the DAX. Okay. In order to prove or to calculate that statement, we can do it directly within the Excel sheet. Let me put the chart beside, simply to have more space here on my screen. That was not enough. Once again, now it should work here, and then we can go further in order to get our numbers in a way we want to have them. So idea is, let's calculate the changes of the DAX in percent from one day to the other for a given class. Since we need the change always for the calculation, so let's have a separate column for the change itself. So what I want to have is that I know the percentage change from one day to the other, and that means we have this value from the close from today, or from the current day, minus the close from the last day, and divide it by the value of last day, and then we have the change of the current day. We want to have those values down to for our complete set of data. Now we have those. Okay, so now we know the change. And now, next step is that for a given class, we want to know what change do we have within that class. So what we need is, we need those class identifiers, so the numbers, we need them here in order to have our 9 classes straight away here. And then we can simply compare the specific results, or at least we can identify the results for a given class. And that means that we want to have an if condition in order to know, hey, do we are in the right class? The classes are now within each column. We have a number there, 0, 1, 2, and so on and so on. And now we want to have per column the changes if they fall into the specific class. But now we have to be careful, and to be careful means we cannot take the class identification number of today. No, we have to look for the last day, because at that day we identified, in this case, the class identification number 7 in the cell M5, and then we would, for example, start a trade virtually here, and therefore we have to take the value of the day before, and if that value equals, so the class identification number equals to the one I have here on the top, then I can use that change, and otherwise I have nothing, and nothing means simply this one here. Still, it's not completely ready, because I want to copy this kind of cell to all the other ones, and therefore I have to put some dollar signs here as well. And the dollar signs I have to use is one here in order to always, when I copy that cell to the right, to fix it to the column number or letter M. Therefore, we need a dollar sign there, and we need another one here, because we want always compare with the row number 4, and that should not be transposed if I copy the cell downwards. And finally, we need a dollar sign in front of the P as well, because then we get always the change directly within the Excel sheet. So that's all. And now I pressed enter and nothing happens. The cell is empty. What is the reason? Quite simple. Because here we have a cell, there's a class identification number 0, and only later there should pop up one number, and as you see in the column which is labeled with a 7, we have now the corresponding change, and that is exactly what we want to have. And this has to be copied down here. That is quite easy to do. And now we have it done for all the cells. And what we can do now is we can already see some first results by simply adding up the complete row. And what does that number mean? Okay, this number means that is the accumulated change for all days with class identification number 0. And this we can do for all the other one as well. And now we get already a first impression of what we have. Okay, it seems that all, I call it now trades. It would be a trade from the close from one day to the close of the next day. The sum of all percentage changes for class number 0 is 0.668. Okay, that's already a huge number, by the way. But what we can see here, when we go to other classes, we have results which are more or less 0, and we have additional results once again with higher numbers. If, for example, we would see a result with a big minus sum, that would, by the way, be something good as well. What does it mean? If a class would simply sum to a big minus value, then it would mean, oh, don't trade long, trade short. Fortunately, we don't have this here, so we will not get an indication for short trades. But let's look how this develops as well. Another number I would be interested in is simply the number, how many days would fall into a specific class, and that can be done simply by using a count. And you see in this case they are not equally distributed. If you rethink about how we have done the separation within one class, we did it in a way that every class has the same number of members, or the same number of values falling into exactly that class. But now the story is a little bit different, because we build up our class identification number, and this does not mean that still every class, the final class, which is derived by 2 subclasses, is now has the same number of members. That means already something, because that means that there is some correlation between the classes already. But that's not the topic right now. So that is only, let's call it a remark, but it's not important for now. Since to live up only with the sum is not something which is nice for our eyes, or a trader would really like to look at, therefore it's better for us to really do that summation, this adding up here step by step, because then we can get it, let's call it equity lines, or something similar to equity lines, and let's do this as well. And once again, I want to have all the class numbers here in order to still know where I am. And what I want to do now is that I want to add up all these numbers. We will start simply with 0, because there's nothing, so I can put some zeros here already. And next step is then that we do a summation. So what we would like to do, and I do it already knowing that an error message will occur. What I want to do is I want to sum up this cell plus now this one here. And now we see the error message. Excel cannot live with that empty cell, because that cell is it doesn't have a real value. So we need to identify this as well. So that's quite easy. So if that cell is equal to nothing, then we take the old value, and otherwise, if there is a number within the cell, then we can really add to the previous one. So that is now the summation process. This has to be copied once again here, and first I put all here, and then I can copy it downwards. And we have something like an equity curve, let's call it that way, for all our classes. That means if we plot them, then we will have charts for every class, and knowing what kind of what the summation, the adding up process of all those values, how does it look over time? But we have to help here Excel a little bit, because first row should be used as labels, and then we might do an additional step, and that is simply not to have a bare chart, to have lines within our chart, because that is a little bit easier for us to have a look to. And then we have this behavior. So let's have a look to that. What does it mean here? Let's simply start with the first one here, the upper line, which is in blue, which is labeled with a 0. What do we see? We see here an equity line which goes smoothly upwards. Then for a long time there's nothing. Then something happens again. Long time nothing, and going a little bit downwards. What it means here is we have been looking to all changes which fall into the class number 0. Class number 0 means, and we have to put a table for that as well in order to better think about that, it means we have low values for ATR, and we have low values, or we have high values for the slope, because there it is exactly the other way around. Just rethink about my statement. We have to look how we have separated all our classes, and ATR values, whenever the number is higher than this one, then this will get a 2. So ATRs are in the order, the class number is simply similar to the ATR value itself. And for the slopes, we did it exactly other way around. So my statement was not correct. So when the ATR, when the slope of the EMA is higher than the upper limit, then we put a 0 for the class identification, or a class number for slopes. So if both are 0, it means both class and class slope, class ATR and class slope, it means low values ATR and high values for the slope of the EMA. And do you remember what does it mean? So looking back to our chart, high values for slopes, low values for ATR, that would be exactly that region, that range within the chart. Finally, that means if we now go back to this equity plot of the different classes, we find a confirmation for our statement. If ATR is low and the slope of the EMA is high, then all those days would add up quite comfortable. At least within the complete range of the 25 years. And you see that there are other classes which have a similar behavior. Let's look to other classes which add up quite with some higher values here. So we would identify class number 0 being a good class for long trades. We would identify class number 3, that is the darker green line, being good for long trades. And we would identify class number 7. Once again, this is other green here, which would add up to a significant number. We don't find something which goes really to the south and is very good. That would be a good result as well, as I mentioned already, because then this would indicate us, hey, that is an opportunity for short trades. So we have 3 good classes for really good classes for long trades, and 2 other classes, so in between, this more brown color and this light blue once again, so class number 5 and class number 4. What we might do is, let's build up a table for that in order to better understand which class shows what results, and let's do that in an extra Excel table. So what I want to have is, once again, this differentiation between low, medium, and high. And we know that those classes, maybe it's a good idea now to zoom a little bit. So what we did is we put those numbers as identification numbers for ATR low, medium, and high, and we did the same for the EMA slope 0, 1, and 2, and in this case it would mean verbally we have a high plus slope for, if the number is 0, we would have a more flat behavior, so slope in the way or close to 0, and we have higher values in the minus, and then giving the class number 2 for that. So that are the slopes, and in order to calculate the class identification number, that is quite easy. What we need is that cell plus this one times 3, and in order to copy it to all the others, we need some dollar signs once again here, and then we can have a table like this one here. So which tells us once again what class is representing what kind of behavior, and also, as already mentioned, the class number identification number 0 is representing high values for the slope and low values for ATR, and so on and so on. And now let me mark those values which have been good. So I know class number 0 is a good long candidate, then class number 3 and class number 7. And let's say medium long trades or medium good, medium profitable would be class number 4 and 5. So let's have an indication here. For example, this one is very nice for long trades, and this one here as well, class number 3, and the last one was this one here. And we have found 2 other ones, not that bad, but this is exactly now how to identify. And all trades are long trades. So for those whenever the price and then the calculation of ATR and slope finally falls into a specific class, it would tell us, hey, today we see, for example, finally class number 2, then it would mean do nothing. If we would find that the close price gives us class identification number 7, which stands for a medium ATR and big minus in the slope of the EMA, it would tell us, hey, you have a long opportunity now in front of you. How does that simply sum up? Because that is of interest as well, not only the individual equity line. Oops, that was a little too far. But we want to add exactly those classes which we identified to be, let's call them good classes, and those classes have been, in this case, class number 0 was good, class number, what else was good, 3, that is this one, and class number 7 was good. And let's take the other 2 as well. That was class number 4 and class number 5. So this we can add up as well. So that would mean we have a final equity line for all those classes. And let's have a look to the chart as well. And now I personally think that this looks already quite promising. This is the sum of the 5 subclasses which have been identified to give opportunities for long trades. We don't find any class which we would assign with, hey, that is a good short opportunity. But what we see already, that this, I still would name it or label it a simple strategy, because we have not done any optimization. I simply took 2 values, ATR 120, EMA 200, and nothing else. And doing the class separation in a way that every subclass is distributed equally. And my final result of the sum of all individual equity lines is already quite positive and quite straight, by the way. So it seems that we found already a good indication how to build a strategy out of class trading. Up to now, we have only one rule, and then that is we identify the class, we look in the table, and we enter a long trade, because there are no short trades. Doing so, it would mean no stop loss, nothing, because I have been adding up only the percentage changes. There are no real trades in terms of stop loss setting and so on and so on. But anyhow, this work up to now is already a good indication that it's worth to look deeper into it, and maybe we find some more specific rules within a certain class, like different stop loss settings and so on and so on. But that is nothing I will do today here. It's a little bit more complicated then. but up to now, for me, this kind of way of this kind of thinking and doing this Excel calculations is only in order to tell me, yes, this is a good idea. Those kind of classes, identifying different classes, and assign to those classes different behavior. And the different behavior is simply going long if the current class falls in one of 0, 3, 4, 5, or 7. That is the complete setup right now. So it's very easy. It's very simple. I know. But the result is already, at least for me, astonishing good. So, and there's nothing with optimization and so on. So one might say, okay, the reason behind that this is not that bad is because I only open long trades. And of course, we know the long-term history of the DAX is long. Okay, that we know. But let's do the same, for example, for Euro, US dollar on a D1 base. And look whether we can find similar behavior, not the same classes, of course, but maybe we see once again already some indication which class or should be traded long or short or doing nothing. So I will show the results in a minute because I have done this already. But on the other hand, I would like to mention here, of course, what we can do is we can change the values for EMA, for example. We can change the ATR period within this Excel sheet. It would be a little bit more to do because you have to enter some numbers here as well for calculation of the ATR. But anyhow, EMA can be done directly, just changing the number. I will do it here just for illustration purpose, because we have to think about it. Now I changed the EMA value to 100 and maybe first have a look here. Okay, still not that bad. It's a little bit worse. And maybe we would do our class identification not the same like before, but be careful by doing so, because just changing the EMA value means that those limits for identifying the class number for the EMA slope then needs new limits. So that has to be recalculated. So we have to take all the values of slopes, put them, for example, once again here, and then sort them by number and find new limits. So that is something one has to do stepwise here if you change the EMA and want to have a look on the behavior once again. It might be possible in Excel doing something like that automatically, finding those limits by some nice macros or whatever. I don't want to go into those details here, but for me it's more the process, more setting up the basic idea of the strategy and not doing the optimization right away here. I promised to have a look on Euro, US dollar as well, and what I have done is simply the same. And more or less, I have only copied the price data for the dollar against euro into this Excel sheet and just have a look that now we have only the data until February 2015, but the only reason is that I don't want to change all the graphs because then I have some numbers here additionally. So anyhow, that's not what I want to show here. What I want to show is that doing every step here with another underlying, of course, what I have done is I have recalculated the limits for ATR and the slope because we get different behavior there as well. For ATR values, you see that looks not the same like for the DAX. And for all the slopes of the EMA values as well, is not the same. But in principle, we can go right away here and get some similar results. Similar in terms of, yes, we can identify some, let's call them suitable classes. And now we have a short class as well. This would be class number 2, because that goes downwards here within that equity line, and we have a few classes going upwards, for example 0, class 0, 1, and then 3 and 5, and that is exactly the summation I have done here for this equity line with I put 2 short lines, so I took 3 long, but I can take 4 if I want. I have only taken 3 long and 2 shorts. Class number 6 I put for short as well, and then I get once again a quite nice equity line. And in this case, I put the table once again how I identified the numbers, but not this one. This is only the copy from the DAX. But now I see here my rules, and the rules would say, okay, slope is big, so high numbers for slope, low numbers for ATR, enter long, and so on and so on. I have 5 rules how to trade those classes. And I get not that bad equity line. It's not as good as for the DAX, but now we have a short as well, and that yeah, is something I expected, because DAX, we have more long and no shorts, is simply because DAX has a long time of upwards trends, and of course Euro US dollar has both phases, going upwards, going downwards. As you know, within this chart we have everything, and more or less for 20 years it happened nothing, so to say. We started here at 1.2 and we are still at 1.2 around, so it's more flat behavior, and nevertheless we could identify different classes for different kind of trading setups. Very good. So that's for today. I hope you understand now a little bit more what is really meant by this class trading and how to come to some more direct strategies. This has to be continued, of course, because we need final setups for every class with stop loss and take profit, so we are not done. But anyhow, at least we have a good idea of how it works and how can we get our own class separation by following that basic concept. Yeah, as always, you know how to reach me, how to reach Argus, and please keep in mind that next week there will be no webinar, but the week after, once again, on the 22nd of September, we will have the next webinar. if you want, you might join my webinars on the so-called IB days. I have to say I speak there in German, and I think all the other speakers as well will only talk in German. So anyhow, we will see hopefully once again in 2 weeks from now. And if you have any question, just send an email to fritmichowski@argus.com. Okay, that's for now. Thank you for your attention and have a good day. Bye-bye.